In all of my interviews, this is the first time that I am actually opening up this particular part of my life to people. We had moments in our journey when we were homeless.
What?
Oh yes. My mom and me and my younger siblings were sleeping in a car in my late father's car because we couldn't pay our rent anymore. You know, it was that bad. And then she would wake up in the mornings, and then the place where we couldn't pay the rent. So the guy who was in charge of the place would allow her go use the bathroom, take a bath, and then she'll go out to try to figure out what she could do for her children. I had just one shirt and a pair of khaki pants. That was all I had, all the position I had in this life at the time, and it was in one plastic bag.
One shirt,
one khaki pants, except for the short and t-shirt I was wearing. That's it. So those were all the things I had. Maybe if I had to go out or do anything.
Joseph Benjamin is a Nigerian talented actor, singer, live event host, and a motivational speaker who uses his platform to encourage and uplift others.
Where we are today as a people, good or bad, is a product of choices we made yesterday. So if you don't like where you are today, start making different choices from now so that your tomorrow would have a different picture.
If you're watching this video and you have not subscribed to this channel, then I don't know what you're waiting for. Please subscribe to this channel because we have mind-blowing testimonies. We've shot some amazing testimonies that we can't wait to just release it. We are releasing once a week. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to release 2 or 3 times in a week. So please click on the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to get notified each and every time I release a new video. And also, if you're looking for a team, a media company to shoot your commercials, to shoot your weddings, to shoot your parties, or to give you some headshots for your flyers and everything, reach out to my team. That is DH Multimedia. On Instagram, you can DM us or you can give us a call and we would take a very good care of you. Let's get into the testimony. Welcome to the Dennis Benson Show. This is a show where we share our life stories and our testimony to glorify God and to edify His people. We always see people and we see their highlights. We see them doing great things, but we don't know the story behind the glory. We only focus on where they are and not where they've been. So I've created this platform so that we can all share our stories and know the struggles and challenges that we are going through. So no matter where you are, no matter what you're going through, you realize that if God can do it for Dennis, if God can do it for the next person, He can surely come through for you, and you are never alone. So today I have a very special guest on the show, and he goes by the name Mr. Joseph Benjamin. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. So last night, we were watching one of your movies, okay. Mr. and Mrs.
Oh man, that is a classic. Yes. Yeah.
My wife is a big fan. But today I was like, come down, let's go meet.
And she froze.
She didn't freeze. She was like, no, I'm beefing with him.
How would he do that? No, why would you treat a woman like that? Why?
Exactly. He's like, no. No, I'm not speaking to him. I have to pray and forgive him in my heart.
Goodness. Funny thing, we're having this conversation, you and I think last week or so, or early this week, when we're talking about how people find it difficult to separate the characters from the personalities. It's usually hard.
Yeah.
And it's just because stories are a great way of sending a message. So when people have these kinds of reactions, then that means that your story actually made an impact.
Exactly.
Okay. And so that's why you have people who psychologically, they cannot separate the you they see, the individual, from the character or whatever role that you played.
It's crazy.
It is.
Have you ever had a situation where people can't separate your character from you, the person?
Oh, a lot of times. See, For one, this Mr. and Mrs., my goodness, I got a lot of, well, not like it was intentional hate, but I got a lot of backlash from the audience. They're like, no, how could you treat a woman like that? No, I'm glad she treated you the way she treated you. Like, no, you deserve even much worse than she did to you. Like, why would you be so mean? And I'm like, I know it's that guy. No, you were the one. I'm like, but I sometimes, it's usually a back and forth, but it ends up being a lot of fun because we have these conversations where, this banter where we are trying to, I'm trying to convince them that no, it was not me. And they're like you. And then like we go down the path of, but this is something that is prevalent in a lot of homes and a lot of lives. And, and I make them understand how impactful that film has been. Like, God rest her soul, the producer who passed on last year. At the time this film came out, Mr. and Mrs., it was actually used as a case study in some churches. For some seminars, she was invited to seminars. Like it was honestly, it had a huge impact. I mean, of course, coming from Africa where we all grew up in, we have a lot of these men on the road who pump tires and, all this handyman. And I literally had people like that stopping me. That's how much of an impact the film had. It was widely received. A lot of people were watching it. So, but it did send home a good message at the end of the day. Okay. So, that's why I understand if the people find it hard to separate the personality from that character.
And you did such an amazing job.
I know.
Wow. And I actually even I know someone who kind of is like that. Like, oh, I can't eat microwave food. So you got to cook food all the time. And it's crazy to think about what women go through. Mm-hmm. Women go through, especially when we move here to America and we see back home in Africa, it's like you go to work, you come back home, food is ready and stuff. But here you don't have all the help and stuff. So at times you got to be home with the kids and you have to put yourself in a woman's shoes and see how they struggle. Wow. So now let's get into your life story. So how was growing up like? Where were you born?
I was born in Nigeria. Okay, born and raised in Nigeria. Born into a loving home. Okay, I have 3 siblings. I have an older brother, a younger brother, and a sister who's the last, of course, the only girl. I was raised by my stepfather. God bless his soul. He passed. He is Dutch from Holland. So I was raised by a white man. Oh. Exactly.
So my wife was like, but Dutch people don't speak English, right?
Not for the most part. No, not for the most part. No.
Because, I would say my wife is a big fan. She's like, where's that accent from?
Well, the thing is, a Dutch man, of course, he's that exception who speak English fluently, And of course, being raised by a white man, it changes your entire orientation. I dare say that. That's for someone who's grown up in Africa. Mm-hmm. Okay. So there's an entirely different view you have, because their standards are slightly, different. So these are things that you imbibe into yourself as an individual. Okay. So I think that largely contributed to probably the way I speak, because a lot of people usually ask, like, where are you really from? Where are you from? Some say, there've been this arguments back and forth there. Are you Ghanaian? Are you Nigerian? Like, what? Like, no, you're Ghanaian. I said, no, I'm Nigerian. Like, really? Like, yes. I was like, maybe because you've done stuff with Ghanaians. And I said, yes, probably. I said, but this is how I've spoken for as long as I can remember. So I grew up raised by my stepfather, who was very strict, of course, and also a mother who was extra strict. So you can't miss a beat. You can't drop the ball. So those were things that were the core principles or the tenets of my life as a child, teenager, evolving, and all of that. So these things helped shape me and helped me, become, who I am today. But sometimes, judging by how I have started my life story, people would think that it was all a walk in the park, a walk on the beach. No, it was not. I usually like to say to people that the term I use was that I was born with a silver spoon. On the way, I lost it. I lost it, and I had to then grow up with a wooden spoon. You understand? But I just believe that all things are purposed by design. Yes, where we are as individuals today is a product of the choices we made yesterday. Okay, so I would say that yes, maybe certain choices were not properly laid down, which obviously at the end of the day, of course, affected the present and the future that we're walking into. Hence, the imbalance that I then experienced, growing up. Because when we lost my stepfather, things went downhill for us. So
At what age did you lose him?
I was a teenager.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a teenager when we lost him. Yeah.
So you were kind of used to a certain lifestyle.
Yes. Like, we in Nigeria call it ajebota. Ghanaians call it dadabi.
Yeah. Oh, you know all the terms.
Oh, I do. Oh, come on. So I was a proper ajebota, and I was used to that life. But then you're shot into a new reality. Mm-hmm. And this reality is, this is what it is. You just have to buckle up, strap your boots, and face this life square on. It helped me. It was hard, but it helped me. And when I say it was hard, so much so that we had moments in our journey when we were homeless.
What?
Oh, yes. We had moments in our journey when we were homeless, and I remember this one time when we were literally sleeping, my mom and my younger siblings, because at the time my older brother had left us. My mom and me and my younger siblings were sleeping in a car in my late father's car because we couldn't pay our rent anymore. It was that bad. And then she would wake up in the mornings, and then the place where we couldn't pay the rent. So the guy who was in charge of the place would allow her go use the bathroom, take a bath, and then she'll go out to try to figure out what she could do for her children. Yeah. And it was, and then we're sitting and waiting. And of course, when she gets back, and then sometimes I had to make friends with people around the area there so that way you could actually see what kind of help you can get every now and then. Because of course I had to eat, my younger siblings had to eat and all, so I literally was shot into a life of independence at a very young age. Okay. So I knew life quite early, and so from that point, all of those.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So you were leaving this, Ghanaians would say, dadabi life,
Mm-hmm.
and then you lose your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you were going to a good school,
Oh, yeah.
had wealthy
Everything.
friends. So how was your social life like? With your friends,
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel around that? Did you feel embarrassed with?
No, so the thing is, maybe this part of the story, I kind of I jumped forward. Okay, so we're not living, because of course the major part of my life then was in Lagos, but we're living in Benue State where he was a contractor, okay, a civil engineer, and brilliant life. I was going to one of the best schools in Benue State, okay? And at that point now, they had to move from Benue State to Lagos because of contracts and all, okay? So it was my younger brother and I, my older brother and I and our younger siblings that were, back in Benue State, and then eventually we all had to move to Lagos. So it was in Lagos that we lost him. Okay, so moving to Lagos, a different life, having to blend everything and all. And then moving here, life was still good and rosy. Okay, and friends were making new friends. And also, I would say that to an extent, the geographical positioning at the time maybe also helped me reintegrate back into system, because if it was where I grew up in Benue State, it probably would have been harder. But I mean, Lagos, it's not as if it was any better, when we lost him. But yes, I had to also try to understand life, that way, and get back into the system, orientate myself, change my mindset, and say, okay, look, it's not even a matter of changing your mindset. You don't have to be intentional about changing your mindset. Your circumstance changes your mindset for you. Right then and then. You just have to align with it, because there's nothing you can, this is what it is. You get,
Exactly.
So we had to keep up with life like that. And my mom was just pushing through, struggling, and then, of course, making ends meet. And then we get to start staying in some. The funny thing is, this is the first time in all of my interviews, this is the first time that I am actually opening up this particular part of my life to people. Okay. Yeah, people know there's a part of me that had my own struggle and all. That's as a young individual out there on the streets, But this particular part, which is my family, okay, this is the first time that I'm actually opening up this particular part of me, And but of course, the whole idea is for it to be a blessing to somebody, and then they see how life and how God can raise you up. My mom, of course, making ends meet, and then we had to start living in guest houses, because at the time we couldn't really pay for rent for a house. Okay, so living in a guest house was like the best option. Okay, so easier. Okay, pay for the guest house. We're there. Normal thing, just like a hotel. And so I was shut into that life. That became the standard for us, because it was the easiest thing for her to do. I can't blame her. That's what she knew, that, okay, this is what I can do for them, right? This is what I can afford. This is what we can do. Rather do this than having to be able to the rent and all. It was hard. So she was just doing all she could, put things together. And then I, on the other part, trying to figure life out. But what are you trying to figure out? You're just a young man who is just going. So you understand that I've never been used to anything like this. So it's a new experience.
Yeah.
So you're just there, sitting and waiting, expectant, and like, okay, let's just keep living and going through. You're not able to fully comprehend what's going on. You're like, okay, this is the new standard, or this is what it is, okay? And we keep moving on. And so that became the pattern for our lives up until when then from there, you see us transition to probably living with people, people accommodating us in their houses, give us a room there, squatting with people.
Were you ever maltreated by people?
Not really, to be honest. For the most part, I had to quickly, had to take a crash course in behaving yourself. Because you either are lying or you are lying, okay? Because right now, there's no room for any mishaps. Just be there, be present. So I had to learn that, and it became the standard for our lives. I remember in one of the places where we're living, this guy this elderly man who I think we met, I don't know how, I think it was through some business transaction, whatever it is. My mom was with him and some other people. I found us living there, gave us a room in the house there and his apartment. And at least this is another, for me, I felt at that point, it was almost like the first time we were living in a proper house.
Wow.
Because prior to then, it's been guest houses. It was like the first time we're living together in a proper house together.
That was how many years after your dad's?
Oh, well, that was trying to figure it out. I can't, to be honest, it's a bit fuzzy right now, but quite a few years after, though. A few years after. Yeah, a few years after. Because prior to then, like I said, we've just been living from guest house to guest house, squat here, there. And I remember there's this one place we lived in Lagos where it was almost like an incomplete building it was sort of like, so the lady who was like the caretaker of the house brought us in. And from there, we transitioned to guest houses, from guest houses to this place now where we then, before that place, we got to a point where we couldn't all live together again because of space. So it's either if someone's wanting to accommodate you guys, like, this is the way it is. Like, so things started going a bit south in a sense. So my mom had to, move with my younger siblings a bit more, and no fault of hers. Of course, it was easier, older, and of course, my younger siblings are mixed race. Yeah, so it was easier for her, and also getting that hand of benevolence from people, would probably be easier if the optics, looking at it now, so I had to figure it out,
Figure it by yourself?
Yeah, because at some point also, as a growing young man, that's why it's very important who you listen to, because whoever is informing you is forming you.
Wow. Say that again.
Whoever is informing you is forming you.
Wow.
Because everything they're saying to you is forming who you're becoming. You get it? And I give great credit to my spiritual father and mentor, Dr. Franco Fosuapia, these are words that he has really really impacted into my life, and because at the time then when I got separated from my mom was when I was one of her cousins then, who was not in a good place with her, didn't have a good relationship with her. Was telling me then, speak words into my ears, like, did you even know who your father is? The things like that. No, I had no business thinking about that up until now. That's why I say whoever is informing you is forming you. Did you know who your father is? I'm like.
So what happened to your biological father?
I never knew my biological father. Was not up until later on that I started, of course, trying to figure it out. Because growing up, I didn't like anything. So why would I even be thinking about my biological father? Okay, so I'm like, I know it's funny that even growing up, let me backtrack a bit. And then used to ask me, like, why are you dark and your siblings are? I'm like, when I was born light, but I stayed under the sun a lot. And that's why I became dark, But I was that innocent and very genuine in my heart. I didn't think that I didn't know.
Oh, you didn't know your...
At that point, I didn't figure out as a child, like, okay, this is not my biological father.
Oh.
I'm like, well, I don't like anything. Like, why do I be thinking that? Maybe it's just because my mom is not white. Maybe that's why I'm like this. Get it? So you didn't bother about that. And of course, and you didn't like anything. So why would you even be thinking about things that at then were not actually important? Yeah. So moving back again. So this cousin of hers used to tell me things like, do you even know who your biological father is? Yada, 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 and all of that, and why don't you ask your mom? Blah, blah, blah. And then, considering what we're going through at that point, and this is just a whole lot going on in the inside of me, psychologically, emotionally, it's just a tussle. So you're just trying to make sense of something or hold on to something. Okay, because you see your life the way it is and what's going on. Like, you don't know. Okay, so I then ask her, I'm like, okay, I asked her that, and she was shocked the day I asked her, and she's like, I think she did ask me who told you this, or who made you ask me this, and all that. And I was insistent. I'm like, okay, who is he? And that's when she then told me, and I was like, okay. Imagine, okay, you've been given information. Okay, so what do you want to do with the information? At that point, I'm like, okay, I know. All right, okay. But then go furthermore. I'm like, okay, how I want to know him. I want to his friends, yada yada, and all that, And at the time, he had passed.
Oh.
Okay, so she did connect me to one of his friends then, who kind of like told me about him, that he was in the military and all of that. I'm like, okay. And apparently, I'm not the only child, but I was the first. Okay, so to be honest, if I have siblings out there, I don't know them. Okay, so so that's when certain rifts started happening between my mom and I. Okay, and then I had to get out there on my own. Like literally had to get out there on my own. Like when I mean get out there, get into the streets on my own. Had to go figure out where to live.
So the rifts, was it because you upset with your mom for?
Yeah, and then also she felt like I was becoming. My behavior pattern was
Changed.
Yeah, it has changed. Son of concern, which I've never been like that, And so, and of course, she was juggling a whole lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I had to learn life again, like the core of life, as it were. Get out there, figure out where you live, all of that. And I remember the first place I was living at was this sort of like an incomplete building where people had kind of like built out, it was a building, but incomplete. So people had built out their apartments in it, but the outer part of the building was, of course, unpainted, and certain parts of it was, so there was like the balcony of one of the first level. At night, you see a lot of guys who were like apprentices for some of these traders, those who deal in automobile parts and all, because that's a trade in Nigeria, because where people take in apprentices, then they stay with them for a few years. After that, when they're done, they empower them, give them money to go start up their own. So those boys would, at night, when they're done with their what's it called, bosses or their master, they'll go lay out there at night to sleep. Everyone will just find your own spot. And of course, your bed, your mattress, your mat was, well, here we call it boxes, back in Africa, I'll call it carton, That was my bed.
Wow.
That was my bed. And I had just one shirt and a pair of khaki pants. That was all I had, all the possession I had in this life at the time. And it was in one plastic bag.
One shirt?
One khaki pants. Except for the shorts and t-shirt I was wearing. That's it. So those were all the things I had, maybe if I had to go out or do anything. And in the mornings when all these people are awake and they go off to whatever they need to, I have nowhere to go to. There where I would be, where's the next meal coming from? What's going to happen? Of course, I started making friends with people in the building there. And of course, some people would offer me food, and I was just going through life like that. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what the next move was going to be. Well, I just trusted God. I'm like, okay, let's just keep going, And then eventually, some guy who lived in the building there just took a liking to me because he had a lot of his brothers who were living with him, because he was into this what's it called, he worked at the airport, so they were cargo business. So they used to move cargo for people, and all from the plane. So he told me to come, young man, come live with us, Just took a liking to me, and that's why I started living with him. Of course, accommodation was free, food was free, and I didn't have to do anything. Literally, he didn't even tell me to come start working with him. Like, he just said, it's okay.
Oh, wow.
I just started living there. And then the restlessness of a teenager now, I was always bored, and, I would I messed up.
Going to school?
At this point, there was nothing about school. There was nothing about school at this point. Nothing about school. No, nothing. So that came later. There was nothing about school. It's like, where's even the basis for it? How do you even try to figure it out? You know, so I had certain issues with the guy, and one of his brothers was like, no, this young man, get out of here. Like, it's just too much back and forth. And at that point, he had his relatives, first cousins, they owned a bakery in the area there. So, of course, by reason of being friends with him or living with him, sometimes when they go there, I go with them and all. So I started making contacts there at the bakery. When they said I should leave the house, I left his house and I went back to my same spot upstairs at the balcony. So I started making contacts at the bakery, and they said I could come live there. You could come work at the bakery and live there. So I started working at the bakery. That's why I took a liking to bread.
At least it will fill you.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! And we used to make we all had the opportunity to make a special loaf where you put extra of everything in it, so that loaf was thick, And then there's this woman who had you guys call it chop bar, but we call it buka,
Okay.
So she has this places buka where we'll go and buy beans. Okay. Dennis, have you tried eating beans and bread before?
No.
Oh, Dennis, I'm missing that. Don't worry. Oh my goodness. So the beans, nice beans, with the fresh bread. Because of course, if you've worked at night, your night shift, and in the morning before you go to bed, you can't buy the beans, take it to your room, eat it with the bread, sleep. So that's how life was moving for me. And again, of course, I say this emphatically. Everything was purposed by design, because for every phase, everywhere I found myself, there was always a transition. There was always a movement. I was never there. I was never stuck there for too long. There was always a movement. It either maybe things didn't sit well with me, or maybe would have issues with the people there. I'll move on. Okay, and that's how I from that place, of course, a young man, I got very restless, and of course I had issues with the guy who owned the bakery. Okay, and I think it was part of the issues we're asking for a raise. And he didn't find it funny. And we kind of it was like a protest. And I was part of the people who led it. Oh. I remember this one time I went to his apartment at the back there upstairs, because they had this huge three-story building rather. So each of the sons, they had their apartments in there. So I went up there. The funny thing, they say he grew up in the States here and all. So I went up there, we're talking, Charlie. I remember when the man got upset, this dude punched me. Ooh. Punched me. This dude gave me, I literally had to duck. This dude, I still remember vividly, 2 punches on my head.
Hey.
And he said, get out of here. Wow. Well, that's how I carried myself again from there and moved on. And I went back to that guy again. He welcomed me back in. It's like, this time we have to be disciplined, yada, and all of that, was. And at this point, eventually, I reconnected with my mom, and my siblings. And that's when we started living that elderly man's house, where I said it's the first time we're living in a proper place together, and whilst living there, of course, my mom was still hustling, doing everything she was doing, and I felt the need to also support. So in that compound, they had about 8 apartments. And so one of the apartments there was housing a computer sales and services company. So those guys used to have containers like literally every month come to the what's it called, front of and they offload those containers. One of those days I approached them. I said, hey, that's when I started out of float containers with these people and just to make money. And that's how life progressed from that point, and found myself in church. Was, of course, the one thing I give to my mom is majority of our spiritual growth and knowing God, even though we didn't have like a relationship per se, was from her, because she was all about that, ingraining that into us as like our foundation. So from there, I got into the church where I was in, and life from there started progressing a bit. Oh, there's a part I left out in that when I was living in that place there, in that incomplete building. Before I started living with the guy downstairs, there was a guy upstairs who was also a bus driver. And this guy, I approached him one time. I'm like, because the bus drivers always need a conductor. I approached him. I said, please, I need to. He said, okay, no problem. So I was a bus conductor for a while in Lagos. And of course, I was too fragile. I like the fact that I see fragile on your wall here. Like, I was not experienced enough. So the thing, I wasn't a good fit. So I was just slowing him down. So I remember every now and then in the mornings, because he usually leaves early in the mornings, I'll go to him. I'm like, oh, I'm ready. He's like, oh, no, he's going to the mechanics. He needs to fix his car. Every morning I go to him. So one day I met him. I was like, bros, you see, every day you're fixing this, your bus. It's like every day you're going to the mechanic. He said, Joseph, let me be truthful to you. You can't do this work. I was so heartbroken because that was a source of income for me. I just wanted to put that in. I forgot that part because I did that before I went to work at the bakery. Okay. Of course. So from that apartment we were living,
and I read somewhere that you also were making shoes or something.
And I was selling shoes for my uncle, my mom's cousin, who used to sell shoes at a popular market in Lagos called Balogun Market. And that Balogun Market is like literally sells shoes, like everything. I was selling shoes for him at his store. I was one of his store boys when I was living with him. And living with him was when we had moved out of that place, my mom, and of course, where to from here? Where next? We had to separate again because where they were moving to, I couldn't move with them. So I was out there again, and then eventually I know I started living with one of her younger nieces, whose husband had an office somewhere on the island, and he gave me a job there because I was front desk, and of course, with the way I spoke, I was answering calls and all. It was great and everything, and I crashed their car. And I know my story is like a film. I know.
You can make film. You can make a whole TV series.
I know. Yeah, I crashed that car, so they had to. Her husband was livid. I had to move out of there. I had to move out of there, and then I was living with a friend of mine who were both in the same church, in the choir. I was living with him there. It was from there that I moved to my uncle's, because that guy was moving from there where he was, and then it was from that my mom's younger niece that I moved to my uncle. Before I moved to my friends, I moved to my uncle's, and I remember that day vividly. It was raining when I was kicked out. It was rainy. It was a rainy day, and all I could think of was that my uncle's house thankfully I had his address. I went there and I explained to him and all. He said, of course, you can come in, blah, blah, and all. So I was living with him. And of course, I got kicked out again. Why? This time was because of the choir. He had a curfew. He said, you won't be coming back late. But I said, he's a choir. Like, no, 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 no. So this particular day when I went back there, I tried to make it early. But he said, no. He said, yeah. He said I was going to sleep. I slept in the garage of the house, downstairs, sort of like. And the next morning, I went to his older sister and told her, and she came to beg him. And he was like, okay. Then at that point, I'd made up my mind. Enough of this. Like, you won't, because of you, I'll stop going to church. And I'm like, I was done. I was like, I'm not living with him anymore. So then I had spoken to this friend of mine who was in the choir, and he said, okay, you can come live with me.
Wow, you chose church over having a good accommodation.
Yeah. I'm like, because the fire and the passion I had then, I'm like, no, you won't stop me from doing this. I'd rather sacrifice this and go live with this guy. And he welcomed me in. He welcomed me in there. And, wow, then my life is a beautiful story, to be honest with you. So from that guy, and that guy moved out of that place, and I started living there. From living there, a lot of things started happening with my life, because at this point I was older, and mind you, at this point, there was nothing about education, because I did have, at some point, I did take my O-levels, stand my WIAC exam.
Without actually going to high school?
No, I did go to high school a bit. And then at some point we had to leave because of where we're living. We had to move. So I stopped. But then I eventually did my O-levels, and I had that. So it was later on down the line, of course, when I've gotten into the space where I'm at right now, that's when college even came into play. That's when it came into play. So, like I said, with this guy, so he moved out. I started living there. I said a lot of things that are happening around my life, a lot of poor decisions, a lot of bad judgment calls, which that's why I say where we are today as a people, good or bad, is a product of choices we made yesterday. So if you don't like where you are today, start making different choices from now so that your tomorrow would have a different picture. Whatever you're doing today, okay, it's either building a good habit or a bad habit in you.
Yeah.
But guess what? Good and the bad will remain. Both habits still remain. So what controls you, what will have the upper hand, is what you feed more. All that I'd gone through was building up to God bringing me to the point where I'm at today. So today when people see this, and most times when I go to places and workshops and I speak about my story, my journey in Nigeria, people are shocked. They're like, you don't look like you lifted a finger one day in your life. Like you were a conductor, you worked in a bakery, you sold, like you, how, where? I said, yes, I don't look like what I've been through. I don't, but I've had a journey. And again, I say it's all been purposed by design, because I look at the journey of my life. Yeah, it's been God. It's been God. It's been God. And even at times when I'd made wrong choices and decisions, He still steered me back in place. And today, everybody sees Joseph Benjamin and they're like, hey, but there's a story. Again, wow. Like you say, behind the glory. Of course, here we are in America. America has its own story too.
Yeah.
It has its own story. It has its own part of my story. It has its own.
Wow.
Yeah.
But before we get to here, I want us to, how did acting come in? Because I know you didn't go to acting school. So where did you pick that up?
Natural talent. A natural talent. Because I remember the area where we're living in, where that elderly man's apartment. Yes, and there was one more again. I remember. So my mom, that her cousin who I went to live with, his older sister, the one who came to him that morning to plead for me, her husband used to own a hotel in that area before they moved out of there. So at some point we lived in a hotel. So the hotel had two buildings. Like it was like a twin, we have townhomes here, you understand, where they're connected to each other. It was like a twin duplex back there. We call it duplexes. So one part was a hotel and one part was a residence for him and his family. Okay, so we used to live there. Okay, and of course, living there, you're exposed to a whole lot of crap. I promise you. Dennis, exposed to a whole lot. But I made it through that. So it was during that period, before, of course, we started living in that man, it's during that period, there was a studio in that area. The area is called Anifo Oshe in Ikeja. Good thing I'm still in touch with a lot of my friends from that era. A lot of them are all over the world right now. Funny thing, I was just speaking to one, I think like 2 days ago. He's in the UK. And at the time I was speaking to him, I was eating cereal. And he said, "You've not changed." Said, "You and this, your love for cereal, you've not changed." I'm like, man. I said, funny thing, I didn't. I said, Joseph used to. So we're talking about, funny thing is, this studio I'm talking about now, there's this lady in Nigeria, Funke Akindele, who is, of course, very big. And we're talking about Funke. Because I tell people, like, Funke and I go way back.
Oh, wow. No wonder you've been doing movies together.
I talked about Funke. I said, he told me, he said, "Joseph, see Funke of those days in Anifuoshi." I said, "Yes." From I Need to Know, because there was a show they were doing there that was sponsored by UNICEF called I Need to Know. So the owner of the studio then, God bless his soul of blessed memory, Lloyd Weaver, an American who owned that production studio in Anifuoshi. That's where, of course, I met Funke, and that's where I used to go. They used to have auditions there for TV commercials, TV shows, and all. So I just went there, and for some reason, favor. The man just took a liking to me. Every time I go there, because there's this friend of mine who took me there. He's like, I go when they have an audition, I'll just go in my very scruffy looking self. I'll go, but I guess he saw a diamond in the rough. Like, I'll go for the auditions and all. I remember there's one that I made, I think 2 auditions, Maltina, and then the other one, Fanta Chapman, that they didn't show me, it was just my hand. And so I remember that he used to tell me, say, "Joseph, if you have a rich uncle who can invest money into a film, I will make you a superstar." He used to tell me that. And then I'll sit back, I'm like, why don't I have rich uncles now? How can I have any rich uncle right now that will come and invest, you know? So it was from there that I started being exposed to this talent. You know, it was always there, you know, but it never found or had any room for expression. Okay, so it was from there that man played a pivotal role in this thing that people see today, because it was from there that I got the opportunity to showcase what I am, what I have, what God had given to me. That's where the acting started. From there was this kiddies folktale show then back in the day called Tales by Moonlight that used to be on NTA network, where an elderly woman would surround herself with children and tell them folk tales. And so what happens is the audience at home on TV has seen her tell them. She'll start the story, and then the camera, of course, would cut from there to the main story. So we're part of it. We're acting out the stories. You know, we're
How old were you around this?
Oh,
Which year? Do you remember?
this was in the 90s, though. This was in the 90s. This was in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. Yeah, early to mid-90s. We wear costumes, like animal costumes, lion, elephant, all of those things. Yeah, so that's where the acting thing started from. And then it was from there that I had my first movie role in 1995.
I was only 5 years old.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's when the journey started for me.
Wow. So you've been...
Yeah, I've been at it for a minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at what point did you feel like you've blown up, you've really made it?
It spoke for itself, though. I wouldn't say I had that moment where I said, oh, yeah, I've made it. Like we say, Nigeria don't blue. No,
Yeah.
nah. It spoke for itself. I think it was when I started hosting MTN Project Fame West Africa.
Oh.
Which was, of course, the biggest music reality show then. Of course, we had contestants from Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Nigeria. And I did that for about 8 years. Yeah, that was when this brand and career came into, because before then I'd done some great movies and all, but Project Fame was a much bigger platform. It was, and at that point people were like, who is this guy? Like, and they were like, really? like he just came from, who just came from? Like, nah, he's been at this for a minute. Yeah, so that's Project Fame. I give credit to Project Fame. Project Fame was a big part of my success story. A major part till date. A lot of people still ask, is Project Fame coming back? Like, Project Fame gave my brand the name and prominence that it has attained today.
How did you become the host? How did you land that gig?
Times and seasons. Times and seasons. So when the first season was airing, I actually, I saw that they had started the first season. At the time, I was filming a TV show for DSTV at the time, a series called Tinsel. And I then found out Project Fame had started. And then the male host then was Dare Atalade, who is a product of Project Fame South Africa. So I'm like, okay, makes sense. If Project Fame is coming to Nigeria, and okay, Project Fame West Africa, using Dare as a host makes a lot of sense as a product of the show. And then Funlola Alfebi Raimi, those were the two hosts of the show. And then the second year, for some reason, I just put a call through to the producer because did I call him or text him? Yeah. And I've forgotten how we even connected. So I just called him like, yes, I'm just calling to just say hi and just randomly. So Joseph, good to hear from you. No, funny thing is, we're actually in the process of auditioning for new hosts for Project Fame. Like, really, sir? I said, yes. So can you come in and audition? And the rest is history.
Wow.
So times and seasons.
How many people auditioned?
Oh, a lot of people. A lot of people. And funny thing is, the first lady I auditioned with, who was the only lady I auditioned with, turned out to become my co-host for the show. She was also auditioning. She was from the UK. She was also auditioning for it because I actually had two female co-hosts on that show throughout the period I was working on the show. Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. I remember my last audition was this day I came in and the man said I should come in and, okay, because they were the ones producing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire at the time. He said I should come in. I came in, and next thing they gave me a jacket. I'm like, what's going on? So Frank Edor, who of course is the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, said Frank is not available. He's indisposed at this point. Like, are you able to host Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I'm like, really? I'm like, oh wow, oh wow. You know that moment where you know stuff about a particular show, you know the ins and outs of a show, but you get to a point where you're confronted with this thing and you totally, like, every idea, memory, thought, or anything you have about the show just literally disappears. Like, at that point, I forgot everything. I'm like, who wants to be, wait, who wants to be, wait, how is it, what's the show about again? I'm like, I was nervous. I'm like, and then I thought it was a joke. Next thing, they lead me backstage. Next thing, the opening theme song just plays. Dun, 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 dun,
Was it live?
What? The opening theme song plays. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, because before the thing finished playing, I saw the studio audience. Everything was ready to go. Dun, 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 dun. And like, bam, I step out. I'm like, hey, welcome to Women's Debate Millionaire. Remember whatever I said, I can't even remember all the things I said, but I took you through, like, I don't know where the confidence came from. Obviously, it was God at that point who said, okay, yes, I've got you. And like, and I said it. And then next thing, okay, are you all ready? Let's play. Then the director says, cut. And that's when I realized that there were no, the stools were not there, that the stools that are usually in the middle for the host and the contestant were not there. I'm like, okay. I said, cut, and they cut. And then they clapped, the director clapped for me, and then the producer, Mr. Femi Ayeni, clapped for me, and they said I should come. Well done. I'm like, what happened? He said, that was your final audition. Congratulations. I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, really? Yes, that was your final audition for Project Fame. Congratulations. You made it through. Wow. I'm like, so what would have happened if I went blank and developed cold feet at that point? Then I would have lost that opportunity. Wow. That's why it is usually good to stay informed. Always stay ready. Don't wait to be ready. Always stay ready. Because once opportunity meets preparedness, success is inevitable.
Wow.
Yes.
Please say it again.
Yes. Once opportunity meets preparedness, success is inevitable.
Wow. So you were ready.
Oh my goodness.
So it's different when you cram something like for school or something.
Oh yes.
But because when the nerves kick in, because you know that then subconsciously,
oh yes,
it takes over.
Oh yes. But this one was like, wow. If it's Nigerians, we say, wow. I'm like, what? And that's how I, of course, landed that gig. And that changed the entire trajectory of my career and my life.
So before you would go out and at times people wouldn't recognize you?
Well, they were recognizing me. Of course, I'd done Mr. and Mrs. and all of these other, they were. But then Project Fame, people recognized me for Project Fame, but Project Fame blew everything out of the water. It's like, wow. Yeah.
How did it change your life?
Well, truth is, again, I give credit to my experience and my story. Everything I went through kept me grounded. So there was never a point in my life that I lost sight of who I am and where I'm coming from. I was always grounded. But of course, your status changes. You're open to a lot more opportunities, which of course can give rise to you becoming something you're not supposed to be. Okay, you lose sight of who you're supposed to be, especially who you're supposed to be in God. Because with that fame and all of that comes a lot of challenges, a lot of temptations for you to compromise and do things so that you could, climb up the ladder and just keep going. But
what type of temptations did you face personally?
Well, the temptations to probably live a certain way, because I said this is what would bring you into this fold. Like, throw away your standards. Throw away your standards and throw away who you're supposed to be. So that you can, temptations to conform, which are prevalent everywhere. In every industry, be it in Africa, be it in Europe, be it in America. The entertainment industry, creative industry, is riddled with a lot of temptations for you to drop your standards. And I'm not just talking about the secular industry, even the Christian industry.
Wow.
A lot of people have sold out just for the fame, so that they can be there. The songs can top the charts, so that they can be known, they can be seen, they can be celebrated. A lot of people have sold out. A lot of people have compromised, dropped their standards. Like, no, let me be like this because, And then we try to, what's the word? We try to justify it by a lot of things. Scripture, labor is worthy of his wages. Oh,
yeah.
Like, a man's gift will make room for him and bring him before great men. But the truth about it, that scripture actually means a man's gift, a gift in your hand, will make room for you and bring you before great men. You don't come before great men empty-handed. You bring gifts. Do you come to a king empty-handed? No. That's what that scripture is actually saying. If you read all the translations, like the New Living Translations, a man's gift in his hand, will make room for you and bring you before great men. But we've termed like is the gift and the innate ability that you have will make room for you and bring you before great men. Your gift as a singer, yes, could make room for you and bring you before great men. But what that scripture is saying is gift in your hands. So a lot of us are pressured with all of these challenges every day. And a lot of us have given in. And I usually say to people, I said, if you want to follow the path of truth, prepare to be unpopular. If popularity is what you're pursuing, then you're not pursuing truth. Because truth has a voice. It will speak for itself. Truth will make itself popular when it needs to. You don't need to fight for it. As long as you stay that path and you embody it, it will speak for itself. But when you're pursuing popularity, when you're pursuing all of these things, you can't embody truth because you'd have to speak the language of the system for you to get the prominence that you need to get. You'd have to. Because the system is not run by truth. It's not. So if you have to come with truth, then you have to be different. Then be prepared to stand out, be prepared to be segregated, be prepared to not be popular, like I said earlier on. Because if the system is run by truth, people would not have the need to be pushed to lower standards and conform and compromise. No. But the funny thing is, there's a certain narrative that is packaged as the truth, and a lot of people run with it. A lot of people embrace it, but that's not the truth.
Yeah.
That's not the truth. But people feel like, oh, that this is no. There are a lot of things that you literally have to say a big fat no to if you want to walk this path. If you really want to walk this path. Yeah.
Wow. Now let's talk about the transition from Nigeria to America. So what you had, everybody knew you were very famous, and why did you decide to drop everything and then come to the States?
there had always been this desire for more. And I got into a point where I felt like my career had hit a plateau. I'm like, okay, what's going on? You know? And of course, I'd been visiting the States prior to moving here. And I'd always desired to explore what is out there, you know? So like, hey, of course, everybody wants to go to Hollywood. Like, hey, come on, you know? So I'd always wanted to, and I'd always wanted to move. And the other part of the movement, which people do not probably understand, is at that point, I was also seeking a fresh start because I just gotten divorced, like officially. I was seeking a fresh start, and I just wanted to be in a different space. So I just went ahead, worked on my O1 visa, because that's what I came here with. Because I said, I'm coming to America, I'm moving here. Initially, it was supposed to be the UK. I'm like, the UK was not going to be good for my career, like, because of course my kid sister is there. I have family there. UK is like a soft landing in a sense. Like, so I worked on my O1 visa because I said, coming to the States here, I don't want to be at the mercy of anybody. I don't want to hear stories, you know, and I don't want to have to conform, do things a certain way because you want to have what's it called, the right working papers, you know. I wanted to hit the ground running. So it took time, worked on my O1 visa, and came here. I bought a one-way ticket. Yeah, that part. I bought a one-way ticket. I sold everything off in Nigeria. Like, not sold, I gave away everything. I didn't sell. I gave away everything I had. And that was on the premise of I was coming here. I'd lined up about a few gigs that the monies that calculated it would be a good start for me into the system here.
Were they acting gigs?
Yeah. It'd be a good start into the system.
Was it going to be Nollywood or more of...
It was a mix. It was more Nollywood because the person who was producing then, is Nigerian. Okay. And he used to do a lot of stuff here with the American actors and all. So it was just going to be one of those things, one of those independent productions. Okay. And so I calculated everything. Like, yes, come in, man. Hollywood, here I come. And I left Nigeria, my one-way ticket. And all I had with me was $1,500. That's all the money I had.
You were coming to Atlanta.
Yes.
With 1,500.
Yes.
What?
Exactly. So it's not like I was moving from one state in America to another. It was from another continent. 1,500 was all the money I had with me. Because I was told, like, of course, they're going to take care of my accommodation. Everything was going to... So I'm like, that's all the money I have. And I get here, I was picked up from the airport, and it was great. Everything looked good and all. I was taken to this amazing house in Lawrenceville in Gwinnett County. It was like a 4-bedroom house. Nice house.
You were the only one there?
Me and my older brother.
Okay.
And then we get there, and beautiful house, fully furnished, everything. Like, is this the life? Okay. Nobody told me. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay. I tell my host, I'm like, okay, so when are we starting production and all that? So, don't worry, calm down. Get in, like, relax. A few days, man, just settle in. Next week, I'm like, guy, how far? Then he said, we need to have a meeting. I'm like, okay, what's going on? It's okay. So the thing is, there's a little delay for my finances. You understand? Those who are supposed to finance this thing, the investors. There's a little delay from them. So we might have to pause a bit on the productions. I'm like, okay, no problem. We can pause now. So when are we starting? No, so I mean like our investors, what I'm actually trying to say without saying it, is that our investors have pulled out. I'm like, okay. So what it means is that you probably would have to start paying for this house. So I'm like, wait, hold on. What's going on? What? Wait, hey, what's going on here? See, yes, you'd have to start paying for the house, utilities, and I'm like, from where? Where? How?
What money?
What money? I don't have a job. Like, I literally have packed my entire life from Nigeria to here. I'm like, what are you? I said, well, that's what it is. And then, no problem, I can pay a few months, but you'd have to. I'm like, do you understand what is going on there? Bro, but that was the reality. That's the reality I got hit with. And that was my welcome to America. That was welcome to America. I'm like, what? So here I am in this society, this system where this system is structured in a way where you have to work, to earn a living, you have to pay your bills, you have to do all this stuff. And I have no experience whatsoever apart from acting. Being a host, MC, voiceovers. That's all. I have nothing. Nada. And it's not like the acting is something where you can just go put your resume and like, okay, I want to get this job. And it doesn't work like that. I'm like, what? What do I do? So there I am again. Then it's, Lord, where do we go from here? And so we are figuring it out. So the host, thankfully, paid a few months, and then sometimes gave me a few, gave me money a bit, but that was it. The thing, guy, you have to fend for yourself from this point. So I think it was during this period I got introduced to the church, All Nations, and I was. I remember the day I went to try to sign up for the agency that I was with then, the talent agency I was with. The lady who took me Uber, she just got talking to me. That's what she does. But I'm like, okay, as an actor, what do I do in it? Said you can do Uber. Like, really? So yeah, you can do Uber. I'm like, okay, do Uber.
So the lady too was an actor.
Was she an actor? Was she an actor? Yes, she was an actor. And I said, okay, how do I do Uber? You need a car to do the Uber. So again, I say, things are purposed by design. I know, for those who are listening, this entire story sounds like one big movie script. Mm-hmm. I know. That's my life. And so it was a church there. Someone gave me a car.
Wow.
Yeah, and started doing Uber.
So you got here, you go to the church, mm-hmm. and for you, everybody knows you.
Yeah, well, for the most part, for those who watch.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about church.
Yeah, not everybody.
Not everybody, but yeah. Most people kind of. And then you are not used to, because you've lived the celebrity lifestyle for a long time, and getting a handout, was it like a blow to you?
The truth is, honestly, it was not.
Okay.
Because I'd learned how to abound and to abase. Mm. So it was not. So that's why it was not so much of a struggle for me to try to, readjust my life. No, I've seen it all.
Plus from your background.
Everything. So I'm like, it's fine. The funny thing I tell people most times is like, sometimes I actually forget that I'm a popular person. It's people, when people come around me and they make me remember that it's not as if I don't know I am, but it doesn't rule me. It doesn't control my thought process or how I live. So it keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
So there's people around me that like, I'm like, okay, it's more like they juggle back my memory. I'm like, okay, this is who you are, but just saying. So it didn't really bother me, you know. It's not as if I went begging, you know, sort of like, you know, it was somebody wanted to make sure you had mobility, you know, and of course you give you the car, you start driving for Uber, and there you go, you are driving around town picking up Nigerians.
And they recognize you.
Of course. Oh, of course.
Oh my God.
Of course. Some even end up taking pictures with me. And the funny thing is, that was a part of my journey because my car became a hub of inspiration. For everyone who entered the car, for those who recognize me, those who do not, there was always an atmosphere that was in there that they leave with. So those who recognize me, when we talk, I remember this one guy who said to me in pidgin English, he said, "Bros, you go make see, bros, you've inspired me. You've inspired me. It's not you now. I know you. You've inspired. Bros, you go make I'm inspired. You know, I've had moments where people just, remember this African American lady just telling me we're just talking and she's just sharing her story with me and she breaks down crying. And then I find myself holding her hands and praying for her. I've had moments where I hold people's hands and pray for them. Like, because at that point when I was doing this, I was like, God, me, why? You know, but I didn't understand that there was a bigger purpose. And that bigger purpose was that I had to connect with people. People's lives had to be touched as well. My journey, my story was an important part of their lives. So I had to align for them to align. Because a lot of times, a lot of people's lives, destinies, and purposes are sort of like are aligned to yours. If you don't align, those who are connected to you won't align. Because a lot of times, a lot of people's lives, destinies, and purposes are sort of like are aligned to yours. If you don't align, those who are connected to you won't align. Okay. So I've had those moments, you know. I had this one lady who called her husband, like, guess who my Uber driver is? Joseph Benjamin. She's like, really? I said, yes. Like, so I've had those moments, you know. Non-Nigerians, you know, I've had to connect with people inspired, and then it was blessing my life. I was like, okay, God, this is what it is, okay? At least I'm making my money, and I'm earning a living, and, you know, I'm earning a living here. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me keep doing it. And so that was because I tried other things, you know, try to do this job here, like, you know, put this resume together, put that together. And of course, you know, we end up, you know, I've had a few interviews where they literally saw through me. They're like, you know, where even me, I couldn't that is even me. They ask you, do you believe what I'm just saying?
Yeah, like, do you believe what you're saying?
Do you, if I ask you now, do you believe what you just said? I've had this. Oh my goodness. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh no. I said I've had moments where I remember this one time was in an interview, and next thing, interviewer asked me something that was quite foreign to me. I muted my microphone and acted as if I couldn't hear them. And next thing, I disconnected the video call. Oh my goodness. So like, I tried everything then. I remember this one time, I even tried it as far as going to Publix at the distribution center. this is their warehouse where they distribute all the stuff to the stores.
Yeah.
I went to try to get a job there, and the packaging. So they said to me that the only positions that were open then were the freezer. I'm like, okay, cool. Then the guy gives me this jacket, the insulated jackets and all. And he's taking me through the freezer thing, showing me, Charlie, I was freezing. I was freezing, my goodness. My nose started running. When we came out, I said to myself, people want to kill me. It's me. When we came out, I said, you want to kill me? I said, when we came out, the guy tried to take me through some physical exercise. And when we're done, he said, okay, no problem, go, we'll get in touch with you. The next 2 days later, they called me. And they're like, oh, Joseph, we want to. I said, I can't remember what I said to them. I said, okay, when you're ready, call. Then they called back again. I'm saying, you know what? I think at some point I stopped taking their calls. I said, it's me who wants to kill. I said, you're taking me through this, taking me on a tour of this thing. Just a tour. And I'm freezing here. So imagine if I was working here. Kill around away.
You would die.
I'm like, no. And funny thing, I like winter. I really like it, maybe because of the way that you have to bundle up and all. But Charlie, for that one, I'm like, no.
Just the tour, you were dying. You was staying there. 8 hours.
Brother! So that's literally my journey into America here. And of course, I remember when I've been, and at some point, of course, I stopped doing Uber. Funny thing is, I think yesterday, a friend of mine who's also he has a big name in Nigeria now. He was one of the housemates of Big Brother in Nigeria. It's a big name in Nigeria right now. The guy called me, man. He lives in Austin. He was like, Joseph, man, when are you gonna are you back? Are you doing Uber? And I said, no, I've not done Uber anymore. He said, man, he told me, Joseph, man, I'm killing it. He drives a Tesla. He said, man, EVs are the best for you to do rideshare. Don't use regular gas car, because then he used to use his regular gasoline car. No, because those things, you have to go for oil change and all that regularly. But with the EV, and then he was breaking down for me how much he uses to charge his Tesla and all. He said, EVs are the best he said, man, whenever he's in the States, if he's not in Nigeria filming or doing anything, he's doing his Uber. Like he says, sometimes he does 12 hours a day and all. And then he broke it down to me. He said, Joseph, man, I'm killing it. He says to me, conveniently, he said, man, he makes at least like $8,000 a month.
Damn.
I'm like, what? I'm like, what? $8,000 a month. What? He says he makes at least like $2,000 a week.
What?
Yeah.
In the world?
He said, Joseph, man, get in this. If you want to do Uber again, like, look, get an EV. Don't use your regular, get an EV. Because since he bought his Tesla, he's not done anything. He's not changed tires. He's not done nothing. And then broke it down for me. He said, doing Uber from September 2023 to August 2024, he spent $4,000 charging for almost a year.
What?
Charging his car. $4,000.
If you're to buy gas?
Gas, if you're doing Uber with your gas car. You know how much you pay on gas every day. So he uses like about $15 to do an 80% charge, because it's recommended to do 80% charge, not a full charge. 80% charge, and that can take him through food, because he's doing Uber. So literally take him almost the whole day. Yeah, he told me man, that's Joseph, man. That's what he does, man. He's killing it.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy is he's a big name in Nigeria now.
Wow.
Oh yeah, but he lives here. He's always lived here. He's lived here before he went for the Big Brother thing and all. So he's lived here for a few years. Yeah. So he told me hey, Now this is what I'm doing on, like, because it says it gives him flexibility of, like, allows him to do other things. He calls his own hours and all, of course, normally and all. He's like, man, that's the thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then when people see you, people that you know, it becomes some type of way.
That's the thing. People are like, but yeah, like, but then you look at it like, okay, what is the need? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because it is the intention, the motive behind a thing that justifies it for you, the person doing it, not even for those who are looking at it. What is the motive behind it for you? That motive is what it will keep you going and push you even when people speak a certain way, type of way about it. If you're not convinced or convicted about what you're doing, then you shouldn't be doing it. Are you doing it for people? Are you doing it for the applause? Or you're doing it for yourself? So I tell people, always focus on your own goal. Always focus on your own goal. It's something Pastor Frank says, which I've imbibed. It's a focus. It's not just what you choose to look at. It's also what you choose not to look at.
Wow.
That is also focus. Because a lot of times I feel like when you focus, what you're looking at is a focus. It's also what you choose not to look at. So what you choose not to look at is also a focus.
Wow.
So I choose not to look at this, rather I choose to look at this. It's also focus. So I tell people, stay focused on your goals. Stay focused on your own path. Walk your own path. Do not allow anything sway you from the left or to the right. Because guess what? What you're doing is tailored for you. The path you are following is tailored for you alone. I usually see people, I say, look, let's assume, taking a perfect example, there are 4 cars coming out of a particular home. 4 cars from one home. And they leave that home at the same time. Rest assured, those 4 cars are not going in the same direction.
Yeah.
They're all going in different directions, but they're coming from the same house. That means their directions, their journey is specific to them. Even siblings born from the same womb all have different destinies.
Even twins.
Even twins. So never, ever look at what another person is doing. Focus on you. Why are you doing what you were doing? That is what matters the most. Focus. Stay your own path. Run at your own pace. Run at your own pace. Steady state. Define your pace and go at your own pace. You're not in competition with anybody but yourself. You're the only person you're in competition with. And that competition you're with yourself is to become a better version of yourself. So do not look at it. Focus on, stay your own pace. Remember, direction is better than speed. Direction is better than speed. You don't need to do things to prove that you are doing something. Because activity is not always proof of productivity. Wow. It's not. But a lot of times we feel like you need to be doing, why are you doing what you're doing?
You're just running in
You're
circles.
just running in circles. It's better for you to be going at a pace that is defined by you and you're heading the right direction than for you to be going very fast and you're heading the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Direction is better than speed. So activity is not always proof of productivity. You being active doesn't mean that you're being productive. All you're doing is that you're just wasting resources and time doing the wrong thing. So why don't you rather be quiet and understand what you're supposed to be doing so that you don't spend resources and time effortlessly?
Wow.
Always. That's what I tell people. Take, for instance, now, this podcast you're doing. A lot of people are doing podcasts. People have a reason why they're doing podcasts. Some feel like that's the way to go. But you have a why. And your why is what is driving you. If you don't have a why, I promise you, you would not be as passionate as you are doing what you're doing and connecting with specific people, not just everybody. Specific people, because your goal is that people will be transformed and God will be glorified. So you're bringing people who have a story that people can connect with, a story that can help someone else grow. Somebody has probably walked a path that someone is actually on now. They'll be able to get direction. So the scars that that person who has lived that path or walked that path, the scars that they bear on their body will be a blueprint for you to go through that path. So you do not have to take on those scars. Those people are giants whose shoulders you can lean on to walk that path. That's why your podcast is going in the direction it's going in. You're not doing anything to impress anybody. You're not doing anything to put content out there. Like, I need to put content. I need to put content. How impactful is your content? What are people getting from it? Because if you're influencing people, what does an influencer mean? Someone who influences people towards an ideology or away from an ideology. So what are you influencing people to or away from? How has your own life influenced you? Can you sit and look at the mirror and say, my life has influenced me? Because you first have to be an influence to yourself before you can influence other people. And the only way you can be an influence to yourself is when you allow yourself to actually embrace the purpose that you're supposed to work with. And embracing your purpose means most times stripping yourself off of everything you've ever known. I say that because it's a part of the journey I've had to go through, where you unlearn all you've known, to relearn everything that you need to learn to go to where you need to go to. Because all that you know is not all there is to know. All that you've been is not all there is that you can be. There's a lot more. And the only way you can know that is if you allow yourself let go of everything that you're holding on to. But because our biggest problem as a people is we're so caught up and so immersed and drawn in and drunk by the successes of our past. Feel like, man, and we keep reliving it every day in our heads. And the more you relive it, the more it builds ground in you. And you'll never be able to let go of it. Because your mind tells you that this is the best you can be. And you start pursuing things that are in that direction. Maybe it's time for you to even time for you to pivot from there. Maybe it's time for you to reevaluate what is there and re-strategize. There are other dimensions to that thing that you think like it's just this path that is the only way to follow. There are other dimensions to it. Yeah.
Wow. I always bring people and then they inspire me. They intend to inspire me. I'm like, man, I needed this myself. Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your life, something else. And your name, Joseph and Benjamin.
Benjamin. Yeah.
Two brothers.
And Joseph means Jehovah increases. And Benjamin means fruitful.
That's why you're always trying to be fruitful.
Yes, that's why my life has never known any form of stagnation. There's always been movement. But most times the mistake we make is we think movement has to always have some form of that some sort of achievement or accomplishment should be associated with movement. No, it's not always that. That's why we get torn, we get broken if we feel like, okay, I've moved to here. Okay, what's next? I don't see what I'm. No. Most times, certain movements are part of your process. They're part of the plan for you. That movement is part of your training. It's part of your training. So when you move, the movement is you've moved from point A to point B. So now what happens? Start building ground in point B, because what you learn from point A, right? You're done with it. So it is what is going to sustain you in point B. Then in point B, there's also a lesson to learn in point B. But what you took from point A is sustaining you in point B because you need it. It's no longer relevant for point A. It's for the next level. So you're learning the lessons that you need to learn in point B. But during that period of the movement, nothing is happening. But guess what? A lot happened from where you're coming from. But we're always bothered about immediate gratification. We want instant gratification. We want to see results immediately. It's not always like that. It's not always like that. The movement on its own is progress.
Yeah.
But we always caught on, we're always stuck on the end point. Enjoy the process. The journey, enjoy it. Don't always get stuck on the destination. We always stuck on destination, like, enjoy the process. Enjoy the process, because the process builds character in you. It builds resilience in you. It sustains you. Guess what? There's a reason why there's an elevator and the stairs. The elevator definitely will take you quickly to where you need to go to. The stairs will take a little longer. But what happens? The stairs building resilience in you, building sustenance in you, building stamina, building all of these things.
Wow. You come to see, that's why right now in a space, in the media space, or even in a church, we see people rise up real quickly and there's no sustainability.
Yep.
Because they took the elevator.
Yes, sir.
It's easy to go viral real quickly. But your journey, you struggled, you grinded for a very long time.
Yes.
So when you got that one shot, you had to, it's like a plant, I heard somebody said, a plant has to grow in two directions. It first has to grow downwards before it grows upwards. If you don't grow downwards first and it grow upwards, it's going to topple over.
Yep.
But if you grow deep and deeper, if you see a plant like this, the roots is very deep. That's why it doesn't fall down easily. The same applies to story buildings. If you're building a house, the higher the height of the building will be determined by the foundation. So if you don't have a good foundation, if you don't have a good base, the building will not stand.
It won't. Definitely will not. That same analogy, there's an analogy I give. Most times I said, there's a reason why when a baby's born, the baby doesn't come out of the womb and starts running. It can't.
Yeah.
There are stages.
Yep.
So the baby, first of all, has to learn. Has to first of all learn. This is how it goes. Baby comes out. Baby learns how to sit. After learning how to sit, they learn how to crawl. After learning how to crawl, it learn how to stand. After learning how to stand, after mastering that, it'll learn how to take its first step. Baby will fall. It's a given. Every time they try to take first step, they'll fall. But they'll stand again. They'll fall. They'll keep trying. Okay? Because they first learn how to stand without falling, and they take that first step. Second, and by the time they master it, they start running. But there are stages.
Takes time.
And the baby doesn't start running when he first learns how to stand. No. That's the problem. We always want to run immediately. You can't. It takes time. The baby has to learn how to sit first. And that's it. That singular act right there. It is it's one of the most amazing things, one of the most powerful things. It's symbolical to us learning and hearing from God. We don't like to sit.
No.
We don't. We don't.
Because we are seeing people doing
Nah,
great
that's the
things.
thing.
We're like, God, no, I can't wait.
That's the problem. We're always caught up with what every other person is doing. We're always caught up. But how much substance have you built inside of you that will sustain you if it's time for you to get out there? We're always in a hurry to go. But see, that baby learns how to sit. It's sitting. It's mastering its balance. And all those times the baby's learning to sit, the baby will fall over.
Yeah.
Will fall over. First off, it then starts the sitting process. It'll start by leaning forward. It's leaning there. All of a sudden, sits upright to fall. Eventually, the bones get stronger for it to be able to sit. I've learned. So now, it's time for me to take my first step from all that I've learned. And that's to crawl. So when you've learned, when you've heard, you don't start running. You start going gradually. Okay, God, as you're leading. Gradually, the baby's crawling, gradually crawling. Next thing, it starts crawling with speed. From there, is it. Next thing, baby learn how to stand. Okay, now I've learned all this now. I've moved at that pace now. Okay, now I'm standing here. I'm bold. You're my glory right here now. So I can stand boldly now because you give me the capacity to stand. I'm standing. Okay, now Lord, the next step for the next phase. All right, I'll take the first step. Lord, I fell. Okay, that is because you're still learning. To fall, it'll learn, it'll standing, it will take that step, it'll fall, take that step, it'll fall. And then until go first. Go. I go. I'm not falling. Go. Next thing I say, now you've built enough capacity. Run. Run. Because that running will build your capacity. That's why someone who has not first done a steady state run process before, it might be hard for you to try high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
It'd be hard. It might be hard for you. It might be hard. Because in high intensity interval training, there's a steady state part where you're cooling down. So if you've not done it before, it might be hard.
Yeah.
So you build and get there. Yes. It'll seem as if the world is passing you by. Yes. But I always tell people this. Don't worry. As long as you're on the right path, keep going. And when it's time for you to manifest, people might think you're late. But guess what happens? You'll be the latest thing in town.
Yeah. People might think you're late, but you'll be the latest
thing in town. You will be the latest thing in town. Because when you are going through a process of training and learning and falling and rising and falling, no one saw that.
Yeah.
It was for you. God was taking you through that process. They don't need to see, they don't need to know. A lot of people think, what's going on with him? What's going on with her? We don't see anything. We don't hear anything. They're quiet. There's a time to be quiet and learn. Because the worst thing that happens for you to open your mouth and there's no substance. Because even a fool, Proverbs says that even a fool is taught wise when they keep quiet, when they have their mouths shut. But when they open their mouth, that's where you hear their folly. There's a time to be quiet and learn. There's a time to quiet, just listen. Listen, learn. So when it's time to speak, you speak with a lot of wisdom.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Man. I was telling you before we started, maybe
Dennis.
started. But what you're doing is also ministry.
Yes, it is.
It's also ministry, and then
is.
you have no idea the number of people that you're impacting. If you start your own church, like say usually if you have 100 people, if you have 200 people, it's fairly successful, right? But you make a video and then you have thousands of people watching. You are impacting lives more than I maybe because of as a virtue of what I do. The Bible says we should go out to the world and spread the gospel. And at times I feel like we Christians, we are caught up with just staying in church and preaching to believers. The church is we're supposed to be, it's like we're doctors. We've been trained to be doctors. And then you've chosen to stay with healthy people. And there are people dying out there. And go preach to them, go heal them, go teach them. And then we're like, oh, we will just minister to ourselves. But then if anything that positive that social COVID brought was we going on online. The church, almost every church is going online now. And thousands and thousands of people are tuning in. Was it last week? Nathaniel Bassi's live and like over 100K people. And before COVID, we were just focused on just in-person stuff. But then now you post content and then like you'd be shocked the testimonies that I get from these podcasts and people haven't seen me. And at times I also forget that I'm doing what I do. And I go somewhere and people meet me and they mention me and I'm like, do I know you from somewhere? Like, oh, I've seen your video. I'm like, oh, okay. I forget that I'm doing what I'm doing and it has impact. And like, you'll be shocked. You'll be really shocked. So what you were doing, bro, please. It's a form of ministry. Yeah. I don't know if God will call you to go and start a church or go be maybe, but this ministry, bro, I know it's very hard because consistency is a problem. Like you have to you have to, what people don't see is pre-production. Before, if it's acting, you just memorize your script and stuff. But then now you are your own writer, you are your own director, your own lighting, your own cameraman. You have to shoot, write, edit, and then post by yourself. And it takes time. And then the consistency to do it becomes problematic for most people. But then the impact that it has on people's life is just mind blowing.
Absolutely.
It's mind blowing. We can't have a church of 1 million people. It won't be possible. But we have a platform that we can touch millions of people's lives in at times just one day.
Yep.
Just one day, and your life has been a really a big testimony, a big testimony for people. And I remember giving you a phone call and then like your personality, like when you talk to certain people who have been famous, they give a different vibe. And I'm like, is this guy sure?
He gave me just a Benjamin's number. Oh, he gave me the wrong number.
You're really cool, down to earth, man, and we've had an amazing conversation. But we can't end without talking about your roles that you've played when you came here. Greenleaf, how did you land that role?
Well, Greenleaf, I auditioned for it through the agent I was with before. That was also another, I would say another pivotal moment in my career, because I remember when I auditioned for that thing and they said to me like, oh, Joseph, production wants to check for your availability. I'm like, really? They said, yes. Like, And they said, "Are you available?" Like, yeah, of course I'm available. And then when I get off the phone, I'm like, yes, of course I'm available. And I love people asking me, "Did you ever meet Oprah?" No, I never met Oprah. Of course, the thing was on her network.
Yeah.
I never met her, but that was a great experience for me. Of course, I'm used to filming in a studio because those scenes were shot in a studio. Okay, but I'm used to multicam productions, so it's nothing different. It was just that dynamics were slightly different and crew was different, but it was quite pivotal because I remember then when that happened, a lot of people were going on about me on social media, like, whoa, yeah, Hollywood, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
If you knew what it took to get there.
yeah. This is like, we haven't even done anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, and guess what? After Greenleaf, what else? Nothing. And then I think I did Atlanta and
You've done Claws, right?
Claws. I've done Claws. Claws was before Greenleaf. Then after that, what else? Nothing. It's like it's as if you've hit another plateau.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what's going on? But that's a process where you just relax, keep going. I've been back and forth in Nigeria recently, there are people, because of course I've left for a while. Like, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? We miss you. Being back, back and forth, going back there. And I believe it's time, to be available for that industry, but not losing sight of what the direction in which God needs me to go. Because a lot of times we get so caught up in what we used to be and lose sight of who we need to be.
Wow. Wow.
You understand? And they could conflict with each other a lot of times because we're so stuck here. But who we need to be goes against everything we know, because the human being is not open to change. We would rather sit in our comfort zone. Change is one thing that we struggle against. So, but to embrace who you need to become, you have to go through a process of change.
Yeah.
That's like, I know I struggled with that. I struggled with that when I got here. But I eventually had to embrace it. Like, okay, this is it. So, God is doing a lot of other things, and I'm just allowing Him lead. The days when you try to figure it out are gone, because every time we try to figure it out, we mess it up.
Yeah.
So much. So we're done. Let's not try to figure it out anymore. Just let Him have His way, do His thing. Just be God. Yeah.
Wow. Joseph Benjamin, this has been a really powerful and impactful episode. One quote that I may steal from you is,
whoever is informing you.
Yes. How did you know what I was about to say?
Because you said that whoever is informing me is forming you.
It's forming you. It's so true.
Yep.
It's so true.
Whoever or whatever. So whoever is speaking to you or whatever you're listening to, investing your time in, is forming you. You become a product of what you focus on. It's obvious. It's guaranteed. You become a product of whatever it is that you focus on, whatever it is that takes your time. You become a product of that thing. That thing informs what you become, how you do. It informs your decisions, your choices, everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any last word for anybody who is watching, who is struggling in the trenches like you were and doesn't know what to do?
All I have to say to you is embrace the process. Don't run away from it. Don't struggle with it. The sooner you embrace it, the better for you. The easier things will align, honestly. And it makes your journey a lot easier. Embrace it, come to terms with it, that this is there, this is what it is. So God, just lead me. Whatever it is that I need to do, let me do. Let me not make any move. Let me not, I will not. If you say I should keep still, I will keep still. Say I should keep quiet, I'll keep quiet. Because if my silence speaks more sincerely to you, I'd rather be quiet than speak. Wow. So just embrace it, okay? And just let him be sincere. And just open up. And just, Lord, you know what? I'm not struggling, I'm not doing anything. Just help me here. Help me. Help me. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. It's an honor having me here, honestly.
Wow. Viewers, thanks so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe and like this video. And then we have more testimonies on the channel and we have more coming up. So make sure you like and subscribe. See you next week. Bye-bye.